Welcome to All About Sport on CavanTV.com, member of IrishWebTV.com Media Group, coming to you from our new studio here at the Cavan Crystal Hotel, Dublin Road, Cavan Town, sponsored by DrumlinMedia.com. All About Sport is Ireland's first live web TV sports programme with over 2 million views in 220 countries worldwide. Coming up on the show, I will be speaking to John McMahon, the student behind the GAA Swap and Sell Twitter page, and he will be telling us all about this fantastic initiative later on. But first up, I'm joined by Stephen Ivers, strength and conditioning coach for the Cavan Senior Panel. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us on All About Sport.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So you're just running in the door coming from a meeting with the Cavan team, but tell us, how did you get involved in strength and conditioning, and in particular with the Cavan Senior Panel?
Well, about 10 years ago, I done a sports and exercise degree, and at the time, work in that kind of industry was fairly quiet, so I took another career path for about 6 or 7 years, but I always had in mind to get back into it. And there's a new college. Well, it was set up in about 2007. They were offering strength and conditioning degrees, which was an online program which suited guys like myself that were working full time and were still involved in sport. So I'm back to education about 2 years ago, and had been studying for it, and I was looking around for different opportunities. And I got in touch with Terry Hyland back in about October of last year, when there was a change in personnel. The guy that was doing it, Peter Donnelly, was coming back to his home county. So I knew there was a vacancy coming up there. So we had a chat about where I was in my career as regards strength and conditioning and what I could bring to the role in that. So he was quite pleased with that. And then I met up with kind of the collective coaching staff, and it was agreed then that for the season I'd kind of be taking control of the Cavan-based players, and another strength and conditioning coach, Owen Maguire, would be taking care of the guys that are based in Dublin. See, the whole idea behind it was that we try and cut down on the amount of travelling that the players would have to do in a week, because we're all the time looking at ways that we can keep down their workload, and that includes travelling, so be it. So we have collective sessions on a Wednesday and a Friday, and have individual sessions on a Monday. So straight away that takes out one extra night of travelling. So that's the thinking behind it. So
for those of our viewers who are unfamiliar with strength and conditioning, it seems to be the buzzword around at the moment. Everybody is, very much into strength and conditioning, and obviously, there's studies kind of back up the importance and how important it is for athletes. But how important? Tell us a little bit more about strength and conditioning and what your role is.
Well, it's basically putting some sports science to the actual game itself. Now, strength and conditioning isn't a new phenomenon. It's been around for 50 odd years, going back to the early years of Olympics. And I suppose Ireland was a wee bit behind to catch up with it, because our games are amateur, like hurling and Gaelic football. But because football has become so competitive, you now have your full professional backup team, your nutritionist, your sports psychologist, and your strength and conditioning. So these guys are going to be the norm, and every team can have them. And what I've even seen at a local level, you have junior clubs and intermediate clubs that will bring in strength and conditioning coaches just kind of periodically, say once a month. So you can see it's filtering down through the channels, if you like. It's the norm at county level have it, and normally guys will be there on a full-time / part-time kind of, if you like, post. So it's moving forward, as I said. All the time teams are looking how they can get a competitive edge, and they're prepared to pay a guy to come in and do it, as I say, on a part-time basis.
You told me before the show that GAA isn't actually your background, but rugby is your background, and you've also involved in running marathons, and you've a great interest in boxing as well. So how has it been from you in transitioning from sports that you're very familiar with into the whole GAA family?
You see, I was keen to get away from rugby for no other reason than I just wanted to challenge myself and have a look at not what I could bring to other games, but what I could take away from them as well. And even just being involved in the setup of the county side, we see how professional it's run, different communication channels they have, the amount of planning that goes into different things, the logistics of it and stuff like that. So you can take that away as well, and you can bring that to other teams hopefully down the line as well. So you're constantly challenging yourself to bring something to a team when you go into them, but you also want to come away with it being a bit more advanced yourself as well.
You mentioned that strength and conditioning coaching has always been there for over 50 years, but also in Ireland we are kind of late developers in the sense that you know, Gaelic games are amateur sports, but there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk in the media recently that we're moving, you know, more towards looking like a professional sport. And of course, with the whole aspects of, you know, strength and conditioning coaches, you have your coaching for dietitians and all of this. So there seems to be a lot more of this. Is it taken away from, you know, the kind of amateur side of things? You know, are we kind of on that kind of fence where we're broaching over towards becoming more of a professional sport?
Yeah, well, I suppose other county teams, like we take for example, Dublin have a lot more financial resources to work with. So obviously they can increase, you know, their level of professionalism. Of course, it's always going to be, well, we'll say for the short term anyway, you can definitely say it's going to be an amateur game. But that won't stop teams that have the resources to give it the professional approach, if it means getting a competitive edge. And I suppose it's kind of the situation at the moment, well, how do we curb this where the smaller counties aren't being left behind? And you can't stop other teams from getting financial assistance in form of sponsorship or wherever it's coming from, unless they look at maybe capping that. But that's for the powers to be in GAA.
Exactly. And we'll have to maybe look towards our very own incoming president, Egon O'Farrell, for that, maybe to answer that question. But recovery and burnout, and I suppose lots of players retiring early from football, that's obviously, you know, a big thing, and fatigue. How can what you're doing in strength and conditioning, how can that maybe help prolong maybe injuries going forward?
Well, it means that we can monitor the players a lot closer. We would have different performance tests the players would carry out, and at the beginning of a season a player would carry out a performance test, and we'll use that as a benchmark to see if they're dropping below that performance. We need to look at that player a little closer and see, is there some underlying factor here? Is there a bit of fatigue, tiredness, possibly an injury about to kick in as well? So we have those kind of barometers to measure off with players. Then obviously we'll just have daily communication with players and ask them how they're feeling, how they're coping with the workload and stuff like that. Like generally players, they'll always tell you they're feeling good, because if they tell you otherwise, they're going to think you're putting a bit of doubt in the coach's mind to say, oh, we better think about resting these guys and feel they're going to lose the position. So it's a lot of it is dependent on the coaches and the management's experience to spot this kind of these different syndromes in players, because obviously some players aren't going to be too forthcoming about it. And then guys like our strength and conditioning, obviously we have the performance things and we can quantify how a player's performing, so you can't argue with the numbers there as well. So
give us a typical kind of rundown of, you know, of a training session with the strength and conditioning coaches and with yourself, obviously.
Well, where we are in the season at the moment, obviously the league campaign kicked off last Sunday for us. So we played on Sunday. So on Sunday evening, when the guys would have got back from the game, they would have had to do a pool recovery session as soon as they got back. And
in Cavan Complex, I presume?
Cavan Crystal here.
Cavan Crystal, oh here, right, okay, brilliant.
They would have come in with the physio for about 20 minutes and done a stretch and a pool session that involved some static stretching and just a few different exercises that would eradicate the fatigue. Then on Monday we would have a collective gym session. Again, that would have been tapered back a wee bit, considering that it came on a Sunday. And that would last typically about 40 minutes. It wouldn't be too strenuous. It's just kind of trying to get the guys moving again and set them up again for another week of training. And then Wednesday and Friday would be a collective football session where they do some skill sets and do some walkthroughs and things like that, all with a view towards the game on Saturday, of course, as well. So although they would have a fairly busy week in terms of meeting up and stuff like that, the actual training sessions themselves mightn't be too demanding, if depending on the week that's in it. If you take out where they've no game on a Saturday, that'll be factored into the training sessions and they'll be a little bit overloaded, a bit more on that.
What strikes me when you're just talking through a typical week for these guys and for the county panel is the amount of commitment that they have to give for this. So, you know, these are, you know, obviously working or studying or in college and trying to maybe have families, trying to kind of keep some sort of normality and social life. But it seems a lot of it's taken up with all of this added, you know, strength and conditioning and all this added training and matches, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like, I mean, my own opinion, there would have been a perception out there that county footballers had something of a privileged lifestyle as opposed to you and I that have working weeks. But these guys are like teachers and postmen electricians and stuff like that, and they have to put their 40 hours plus work in just like anyone else. And all these things are considered as well when we're planning out their training sessions too, that these guys are up at 6 and 7 on the road and stuff like that. And that's why we have those recovery sessions as well, so that those guys can also do a good day's work as well. And they can also come straight, so that they can come straight from a working day, perhaps with an hour to play with, and then on to a training session as well. So I mean, you asked me at the start of the show, as I said, how did I find maybe perhaps a different culture as opposed to when I'm coming from the background in rugby. I mean, there's no half measures with the commitment. You're either in or you're not. And you know, and we've seen guys opt out of the panel because they've been around and they know the demands. If they can't give anything less than 100%, they know they're not going to put themselves in contention for a full season of playing. So it's their call, and it's not the managers to decide if they want to come into the panel, and if they've been around and they haven't been involved before, they'll know what it's going to entail, you know. Again,
it's you know, I think we forget that it is an amateur sport, and these players are putting themselves out there to be, you know, critiqued and criticised, and I suppose it all comes with, I suppose, the job of playing for their county.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of talk goes on. I can see it myself on, say, social media, and that's there's no hiding from that if you're involved in it. But I mean, I think these guys take it with a pinch of salt. They know the feedback that they get from the coaches and selectors and guys like myself is what they need to go on, you know, and there's always going to be different things talked about in the media, and those guys are in the news about, or they're in the business of selling papers, and how they interpret different stuff and how they put it on paper can be a lot different to how it's actually going on in the real world, if you like. So, you know, as I said, the guys take it with a pinch of salt, and they're not going to get too, not going to be too sensitive. If you like.
Absolutely. I suppose that brings me to my next question. There's been a lot of speculation around a particular, I suppose, ex-Cavan player, Shawnee Johnson, and a lot of talk in the media last week about a petition to get him back on the county panel. You know, what's the kind of feeling in camp?
Well, I think that kind of momentum to get that chap coming back into the setup is coming from very much outside of the team, if you like, just the general public looking on and stuff like that. For the guys that are involved, I think it's a wee bit kind of damaging to them, because it's like me saying to you, the guy that used to have this job before you, would love to see him back. You know,
Owen McConnell, is that true?
So you can imagine how he feels.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
But definitely within the camp, the guys that feel that they have what it takes to you know, to compete at the level that they're expecting, and they're pushing on with it, and they're not waiting around for anybody to come in. And that's no disrespect to the chap that you talked about, Johnny. You know, I understand he's still playing football and enjoying it. And
there is talk that, you know, he's one of the best forwards Cavan had, and, you know, are we ever going to move forward, like in the league, in the championship, without maybe having one of these key players back on the panel?
Yeah, that's true, and it's a good point. But if you go back to, I think, 2 seasons ago, obviously I wasn't involved, but Cavan had one of their most successful years when they got to the quarter-final of the All-Ireland, and he wasn't involved then, and he had been involved for a number of years prior to that, and Cavan hadn't got so far. And that wasn't solely down to him being in there or not, but I think Cavan football is moving forward, and I can definitely see a collective kind of confidence building amongst the guys. I mean, their attitude and their approach to training is so spot on, and these guys are so enthusiastic, and they're not there to make up numbers or just to turn up for fixtures. And it's really exciting for me personally to be involved in that, because there are guys that are looking to move forward. So I think the thing will come and go, and maybe from time to time if he's not involved, you know, and if he is, you know, he'll just get in on it with the rest of the guys and move forward. You know, Cavan football isn't going to stand still for any one footballer.
Absolutely. And then you have to look to the under-21s coming through. We're going to start making the senior panel as well, and they've had such great success. So obviously you've got key players there that are coming through, coming up through the ranks as well, who are ready probably to take anybody's place. Yeah, there is a production line there that's ongoing as well, and it'll be up to the coaches that are involved in the senior 21s to develop these players and bring them along as well, that they're not going to wait around for guys that aren't performing. They'll either drop off and other guys will be selected in favour of them. So I personally speaking, I wouldn't be from a footballing stronghold, but I think Cavan football is at a healthy place at the moment, and it's moving in a good direction. Maybe not at the pace supporters would like to, but it is moving forward. Yeah, definitely. And I suppose the league started last weekend. I suppose you're given 100%. You're there on the day. You have to go to the matches.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
How, in your opinion, did the game go last weekend, or what do you think they have to work on?
Yeah, well, I mean, the guys that were playing Roscommon were after coming out of a good campaign. They won the FBD league that they were after being involved in, and they're kind of counterparts, if you like, in kind of football. The Cavan, they have been haven't been on the scene playing too well for a couple of years, but they've had a few years there now, where they're moving forward, and there's a kind of certain level of expectation that's on, and it's kind of in Cavan as well at the moment. So it was a good measure of where we're at the moment. I think both teams came away kind of happy with the result. The question I asked Terry was, would the team would have done as well as that this time 12 months ago? But he couldn't really answer that question because they were in a league where there was a little bit of a not as high as a standard, if you like, to what they're playing in now. But he seemed relatively impressed with us, that the guys stuck in it and showed good character and good spirit.
Good. So going forward for you, Stephen, what do you want to kind of get out of this, the senior panel?
Just really good experience, kind of that obviously, like the things I talked about, we're looking to make these guys the fittest that we can possibly get them without breaking them. There's a fine line between getting these guys to peak at the right time and getting them breaking down. So that's personally where I want to kind of get these guys to their full potential come championship time, and now obviously during league as well. And hopefully, just when you get involved in this, you kind of have your own agenda, kind of, if you like, about how you. But then when you get involved in it, and it becomes the team thing, and you can really find yourself kind of being part of a structure that you want everyone to progress and you want everyone to come on at the same level. So you wouldn't be as selfish about it as you might think when you go in. If you like.
Well, Stephen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and thank you very much for giving us an insight into what goes on, I suppose, behind closed doors with the Cavan Senior panel. But look, best of luck, and thank you for joining us in All About Sport.
Thank you.
So thank you very much to Stephen Ivers for joining me on the show. We're going to take a short break, but stay with us. We'll be back with John McMahon, the student behind GAA Swap and Sell. Cavan Crystal Hotel provides 4-star accommodation on the edge of Cavan Town. Located conveniently on the Dublin Road, just 60 minutes away from Dublin. With 85 beautifully appointed bedrooms and a number of luxurious suites. We offer wedding packages. With our one wedding a day policy, we guarantee to make yours a special day. Enjoy a meal at our award-winning Opus One restaurant, or have a drink in the atrium or residence bars. Feeling energetic, you can work out in Zest Health and Fitness Club, or maybe pamper yourself and visit Utopia Health and Beauty Clinic, or Avita's Hair Salon, both located on site. Situated only 5 minutes from Cavan Town Centre and local amenities. Cavan Crystal Hotel, gateway to our... Very welcome back to the show. I am here with John McMahon, the student behind the Twitter page GAA Swap and Sell. So John, thank you very much.
No problem.
You are only 18 years of age, and you've had this Twitter page running for over 2 years now. You're a young entrepreneur, but how did it all start?
I suppose it started, Louise, where I seen on Facebook a GAA Swap and Sell page, and it gathered a lot of interest from people all over Ireland. It had about 5,000 followers, and I just thought to myself I had to get involved in that because it was an unbelievable, like I couldn't believe it. Like, it was just during championship and there was so much interest, and I just said, look, I'd have to get grabbed onto this, and I'll just have to start doing it. And yeah, lucky enough, it's going well for me now. So. Yeah,
brilliant. Going well. You have up to 6,000 followers on your GAA Swap and Sell page in such a short space of time. And I had a little sneak peek at your own page, John McMahon, and then at GAA Swap and Sell. But tell us, how did you kind of gain so much momentum and gather so many followers and get so much interest? Obviously the GAA is a huge kind of family, so people are always interested, but what exactly is your page about for people who are not really 100% sure?
The page is about GAA Swap and Sell. It's just basically people can contact me and I can put up different pictures, and they can send me pictures of gear that they want to sell and swap to other people around Ireland.
Just give some examples of what particular gear.
Just GAA jerseys or shorts, anything like that at all. That they pick over the years, and just county players can even get in contact with the page as well. So yeah, it's just anything like that really, and it's going very well in fairness. So yeah.
Would you have many county players involved and kind of supporting you on the page?
I suppose a few Cavan players you're looking at. I suppose ex-Cavan player Shawnee Johnson, he's on about, and then Martin Dunn and different boys like that, and a few Dublin players as well. So yeah, it's a good interesting. So yeah, they're very interested in swapping and selling.
So they would maybe say come to you, get in touch with you and say, look, I have this jersey, I want to swap it or I want to sell it, and you help facilitate that?
I can help facilitate that, and it's even people all over Ireland as well. They can even DM me and message me on Twitter as well, and they can get on to me as well. So yeah, happy enough with it already.
You're a full-time student, so where do you get all the time to keep this Twitter page going? Because we all know there, really you have to be really savvy and constantly have your phone and be tweeting. But how do you manage to kind of squeeze in your studies and tweet so much and keep all of this running?
As well, get the homework out of the way first is the main thing, and then just
that's any of your teachers watching?
I suppose it's an hour and a half homework, whatever. So the teachers being normal, happy enough for this to get it done. And then I suppose I spend most of the rest even hopefully then just train with the football as well, with the clubs.
Rories, you have to give them a plug.
With the Rories, So doing that as well. So yeah, I find a lot of time. The weekends as well, I kind of get most done Sunday evening or Saturday as well. So yeah.
On average, how many tweets a day? Do you feel you need to kind of really get yourself out there and get your name out there?
I'd say you're probably looking from about 5 to 10 at least, just to keep in the zone and keep people interested and keep the whole interest and interaction with all the fans and different things like that. So you see, people will cop on if you're not tweeting, and people will kind of mention it. So yeah, it's people like seeing it, and people like seeing the different jerseys, and they have massive interest. It's an unbelievable interest.
What's one of the best jerseys you've kind of got most excited about?
It seems to be they're not probably the richest county for success, but it seems to be the Offaly GAA. The Offaly have a mad lovely jersey. It's just it's a retro kind of a jersey, and this is the kind of the way it is, the way it's shaped, the colour of it as well, and the way it's kind of lined out and based out as well. So it looks very nice now too as well. So yeah, and it's probably
not necessarily people who are following the county, or it's more maybe the style of the jersey.
It's the style of the jersey as well. People can like the jerseys as well. Even county players, they can wear other county jerseys as well. So see a few county boys in our team as well. So they get any jersey they want really at all. Yeah, so they're handy for trainings and everything.
Obviously, in recently, the jerseys have changed, and as you said, the style has changed. It's gone from the collars to the round neck. They're obviously really popular.
Yeah, very popular, and I'd be a big fan of that now. I like seeing the new styles and different things like that. So yeah, it's good to see it now. Hopefully it'll be
a lot tighter fitting. So it's all about the physique and how
physique,
so this is where the likes of Stephen Ivers really gets involved here, because that's strength and conditioning. You need to work on it to get into them jerseys.
Absolutely.
Got to bulk up in the right way. But you've lots of future plans, lots of exciting things ahead for you in relation to your page. You're running it at the moment through Twitter, but you've hopes to
set up your website.
Yeah,
get a website sorted and see where it takes me. A lot of people have been saying that to me, and it'd be a good idea to set one up as well. So yeah, so hopefully get into that as well. It'd be a very handy way of sourcing payments and everything like that. So Twitter is very handy as well, in fairness, to get process payments. So
which is brilliant.
Which is very handy. So.
Great. You're no stranger to, I suppose, the GAA and obviously to the whole media side of things. A lot of people will be very familiar with your uncle, Sean McMahon. So tell us a little bit about it. I suppose he's a great inspiration to you, and somebody you'd really obviously look up to and has guided you through your kind of love and passion for GAA.
Yeah, I suppose he brought me from games since I was about 9 or 10 years of age, and just had a massive interest, even club games, going along with him, and he'd be doing the commentary and I'd just be right beside him just along the way, even helping out him and Michael if they missed out on anything. But he had massive interest, all right, and he's brought me to most things. So yeah, sure, he's still had a bit of it anyway, and sure, he's probably the pinnacle for me to start all this, really, to be fair. And he's got me interested in the GAA as well. So,
and he's a good support too.
Massive support as well.
Great. So, and then your sister, Anya McMahon, journalist with the Irish Times.
Journalist with the Irish Times, yeah. So it's a nice.
It's in the blood. It's in the family.
It's definitely
you can't really miss it. But I suppose you've got a lot of support and help with Anya. I suppose guiding you really.
Just giving me tips and different things. Yeah, it's very easy. Yeah, very handy to have her as a guideline as well. So happy enough. Brilliant.
So I know you're going to, I suppose, in the coming weeks, you're going to come back and speak to us a little bit more about Cavan and GAA and Cavan. I've no doubt you were at the game last weekend, the Cavan Roscommon game. Well, what did you think, John? How did you enjoy the game?
Yeah, it was good to get a draw. Like the hopes going into that game weren't very high now, in fairness, and it's a very competitive league we're in this year. It was a good result on the basis of it, but I just think Cavan need a big, like it is a big disappointment not to see Eugene Keaton playing this year. Like he's a very good go-to man, and he can kick scores from all angles. So I'd like to see him at least back for championship, because it's going to be a tough test against Monaghan. But overall the game went well, and in fairness, and my club man Damien Riley had a very good game in centre half back, and Martin Dunn kicked a nice few points as well from the frees. So it was a good result, and we suppose we've Laois this weekend, so that's going to be an interesting game to see how we get on there. Port Laois is never an easy place to go to, so I'd say hopefully a few Cavan people will get up to that. So
sounds good. So just I suppose back before we finish up, at GAA Swap and Sell. So just to let any of our viewers know, if you're interested, you can follow John McMahon on his Twitter page at GAA. I might just go to this camera here, at GAA Swap and Sell. How did you get so many followers? Is there kind of a trick to kind of gaining more followers? Is it all the hashtag?
Yeah, it's the hashtags, and I suppose a lot of contacts as well. You need contacts for this.
What's your most popular?
I suppose obviously hashtag the GAA thing, and then just from the county, like you're getting involved with, or like what you're selling, whatever. And I suppose contacts is a massive thing. And competitions is huge as well, to sell jerseys if you're giving away gloves or that. So your contacts is a big thing to get all the followers. And competitions, I suppose, is the biggest thing really, and even advertising and different things to sell, to have a few wee things there too. So it does. Competition is probably the biggest thing really. So
sounds great. Well,
happy with the followers.
John, absolutely, such a huge success, and you were 16 when you started this, pretty much. So
basically 16.
So I mean, really, you've done such great work, and I really wish you the best of luck with at GAA Swap and Sell. And you're going to come back on the show and talk to us a little bit more about GAA in the coming weeks, and kind of keep us informed on what's happening in the league. So you're going to be attending all their matches, which will be brilliant. So John McMahon, thank you so much for joining us on the show. So I'd like to thank all my guests tonight, Stephen Ivers and John McMahon, for joining me on All About Sport. That is it for this week, live from the Cavan Crystal Hotel, Dublin Road, Cavan. And if you want to feature on the show, and please do get in touch at louis2@yahoo.co.uk or www.drumlinmedia@gmail.com. Tweet me at Cavan TV Sport or Facebook Louise O'Reilly. So thank you for watching, and remember to log on to www.cavantv.com for all shows. So it's goodbye from me, Louise O'Reilly.